I want to formally introduce you to the listeners because I
Okay.
looked back and the last time you were on was February of 2021, and then I had you back on with the Hotter than Hell story time. Um, but it's been a while. It's been a while. If y'all want to listen to Ryan's come up story, go back to it's like way back 2021, February 2021, and that's when he was running Bandera. He did pretty well at that. But he talks about his Bandera race, but he talks about a story, and that's a big thing. Is his story has come up. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we just posted a video with Ryan. Ryan, what'd you think about that video? It's right now, it's getting like over 100 views a day. It's growing in the algorithm. How do you feel about that video and kind of your story being put out there like that?
It's funny. Nikki kind of who shot the video that day. We had planned it, and he was going to come over that evening and said he was just going to do a laid back interview. Well, my wife, she works from home, and I didn't know, but she had meetings set up left and right all that evening. So she didn't really want any company at the house. So he came over and she's like, Ryan, you got to do something different. So I was trying to improvise and I was like, well, Nikki, I got a few errands I got to run. You just want to hop in and let's, go off the cuff here and run these errands and do the interview. And it actually worked out really well, I think.
Yeah.
I looking at the video, I wish I could formulate sentences better and stutter less and less uhs and all, but Nikki and Josh did such a good job editing and with the shots and the footage and just putting it all together. I thought it was a really, really well done.
Yeah. And how do you feel that it's like picking up? Like a lot of people are watching it. I don't know how many views it's at today. It's close to 1,000. Your story reaching 1,000 people. Like imagine if 1,000 people were in your living room right now. How's that feel?
That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of people, man, thinking about it.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's pretty cool. I think the quality of video certainly helps get clicks and gain traction and keep people engaged. So I think Nikki and Josh are onto something
Yeah. The video is titled for anyone that wants to go
for
watch it
sure.
on YouTube. It's called the Ryan Hill, The Path to Texas Ultra Championship mini doc. And it's basically him kind of sharing his story. It's also sharing his training going into the race, the championship. Um, man, we have a lot of stuff to cover on this podcast. First of all, this is the first big this is the first championship qualifying race in Texas. It's a new thing trying to get up and going because here's how I see it, man. And I've probably talked about this on another episode on the podcast here, but you know, the it's very difficult to get into Western states and compete at that level, considering none of us live at altitude here in Texas, really, unless you're in El Paso.
Hmm.
Um, and this is the first time you're able to earn something and it to show and it to be against people that have the same conditions as you, if that makes sense. Like you all have the same, in a way, training environments. We have a little bit of hills, we got this and that, but there's no mountains. It's not crazy elevation, and it's a cool way for people to be able to compete. Um, so Ryan, what do you think about you? Obviously, you ran the race, you won the championship. What do you think about there being a race in Texas that's the championships in Texas, the qualifying races are in Texas, and the fact that you do have to qualify? Like, what do you think about all of this new thing first year? What do you think about it?
I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's exactly what uh, just the trail and running community wants in this area. I think it's what they need. Um, it's of course it's fun to do these destination type races and travel out of state and if you got your family they get to experience different parts of the country and you get to see different parts of the country, but you're absolutely right. It's a being in Texas and not used to those mountain runs and the altitude and elevation, it can you can prepare only so much out here. And honestly, I would say the heat in the summer for us out here does us no good, really, for training or running at max heart rate. Or I mean, it's hard to it's hard to train for that. And when you go out to those races, it's a complete shock almost. Of course, depending on how you go about it, it may not be a complete shock like it's been for me and some of my past races. But yeah, I think it's definitely something special to have something so close to home that represents Texas. Um, I think I think it's going to grow very quickly. I think there's even this year there was quite a bit of interest, at least from the people I talk to in the community that are interested in these races and what's going on, although they didn't have the opportunity this year, this go around to sign up, qualify, and be out there. But I think it's going to quickly grow. I'm excited to see the competition and how competitive it gets because you put a cash prize out there, it grabs a lot of ears and gets a lot of attention. So I'm excited to see what next year brings.
Yeah, and it's gonna be um it was top 10 this year, but now it's going down the top 7 because we had a race we added to what the West Texas Ultra. We added that in. That's out near Lubbock, Amarillo area. But yeah, man, it's gonna get more competitive because you know the closest qualifying race to the championship was the South Texas Ultra, and that was a tight race. Like the top 10 was tight, and that's because it was the closest to Georgetown. Um, but like you said, people are going to start learning about the race and wanting to qualify in the local area qualifiers. It's grabbed a lot of attention. Even Rob Goyen, trail racing over Texas, he really likes it. He really likes the idea of it, and that means a lot coming from a guy who grew the trail running community in Texas. But we're gonna
He
see
is a
where it
legend of
goes.
the area for sure.
Yeah, yep. But it's cool, man, that you are the first winner of it. You're the OG, the original. You got the course record.
The OG.
You got the course
Sounds
record.
nice.
Um, and it's not something that was easy. Like you competed with a guy during the race back and forth, and we'll get into that. Um, but before we go into that, let's go to the beginning. Um, the qualifying race, the East Texas Ultra. Let's talk about that. That's where you qualified for the race. Let's go into that just real quick, just kind of a recap. What was that like for you, honestly? Like I know the beginning it was pretty. There was guys that are close to you. You had top 10 in the bag, but you were competing for first there. Tell me a little bit about qualifying for the race, what that was like.
So leading up to East Texas, which I believe was the third week of May, if I'm
Yep.
correct, I was just getting off just tons and tons of road training. So every day I was on the road. This was, I mean, of course, I was training on the roads to in my build up for the Boston Marathon this past year. And so I was really excited to get back on the trails. So after Boston, I, I already had a really a pretty decent fitness level going into that training block, going into East Texas Ultra. So it was really just about getting back on some trails and getting that footwork down and adding in some more hills and getting some, consistent weekly climbing going. A lot of like hill strides, and I would add, try to increase my long run as much as I could. I didn't need to do too much because I was just coming off of some marathon training. So I felt like I had a pretty good fitness level for the 50K distance. And looking at East Texas, it was a pretty easy trail, pretty flat. There was a little bit of climbing in that 4 mile loop, um, but it wasn't bad. And So I knew it was going to be a pretty fast time. So it was just a matter of getting some climbing in and getting ready to, train the gut again to take in the calories and goos and for 4 hour period. And my goal was 4 hours, but I went off course a couple times and
Yep.
ran a few extra miles there. Ended up being, I think, 33 miles and 4 hours 24 minutes, I think, um, which was good enough for first place on the day. But you know, in that 4 mile loop, you there's some out and backs, and you can kind of see kind of who's moving up the field, who's looking good, who's looking bad. And yeah, one guy in particular, Brantley, was looking really, really good. He always had a smile on his face, and he had good stride, good form. And I noticed he was moving up the field. But I was having a good day myself up until that last mile when I was really trying to push the pace to um, get close to my 50K trail PR, which I smashed that day, even with that rough last mile. So I had a good day, but yeah, Brantley came in second, and he looked very good as well.
Yep. Yep. And Brantley is the guy that you ended up being neck and neck with at the championship itself. But let's go ahead and kind of move into that, man, because going into the big or the Texas Ultra Running Championship, it's renamed the Big Texas Ultra now. But going into it, I had my hopes that it would be you, that you would take it away, and that you would win because I've seen your results, and I know how fast and how mentally tough you are. And the pictures show, dude. If you look at any pictures of Ryan Hill on the dang
I look too
championship,
serious all the time.
dude was like squeezing his water bottle, like pushing through that, man. I want to dig into what your mind was going into during that time. But um, so going into this race, man, what in the world were you thinking going into the Texas Ultra Championship, about to possibly win $1,000? What were you thinking?
Well, I was pretty confident. I had a really great training block leading up to this championship. I felt like I put all the pieces together. I felt like I had a good game plan, and um, really, I've been looking forward to this trail, Lake Georgetown, the Goodwater Trail. I've been looking forward to running out there for at least 3 years now. There's a couple races that have been put on there around that lake in the past, and it's always looked like a fun trail. Just it always looked fast on paper, but or if you're looking at the profile or looking at previous times on Strava or looking at the segments, but there's definitely some technical areas and some fast areas, and it's a good mix, which is, I think, what I like and what suits my running abilities pretty well. So uh I was looking forward to getting out there and seeing Lake Georgetown also. Uh, and let's see, the training was good. My main focus, my main concern was just fueling and keeping my stomach under control. My biggest weakness is my stomach. In the later end, there's always a kind of a rough patch in the middle of an ultra or an 100K for me, and yeah, I get nauseous and have trouble taking in any type of hydration or calories, and uh, I was really concerned about that. But at the same time, leading up, I had a 33-mile run, long run, no stomach issues. Felt like I could have kept going. I felt like I hit the pacing perfect um, on multiple long runs with no stomach issues. And so I was really confident going into the race. Of course, this was my fourth 100K attempt, and all three 100K attempts prior, I've experienced, nausea in the middle of a race. So I, it happened again at the championship. But I'll get into that. But I was able to again kind of calm the stomach down, and it's like once I finish or I smell the finish line, or I feel it's coming. You know, something clicks, and I turn my stomach off, and I'm able to kind of empty the tank. And that's kind of what I did at the race this last weekend, and it was good enough to keep first place. So it was getting down to the wire. I think Brantley was about 15 or 16 minutes behind me,
Yep.
so he was coming quick. So I still got some work to do on the stomach, but I took at the end of the race, I took an anti-nausea pill, Zofran, and my doctors prescribed it to me before, but I've never ever taken it. I'm just trying to stay away from any kind of prescriptions or medicine the past 5 years. But I took that after the race, and not 10 minutes later, man, my stomach was settled. I was able to take in calories and hydration, and I was back on my feet, ready to go. So there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here with this Zofran. I'm gonna look into it a little more and see if this is something that I can take in the middle of the race, and see if it might help calm things down. But I really had a good race overall, minus a little bit of puke and rally from 31 to uh, 50. So about 19 miles of some puke and rally. I had some uh, good blocks of running in that 19 miles, but there was about an hour of walking, hiking, and puke and rally.
Mm. Yeah. Uh, yeah, we'll get to that, but I want to start off with the beginning of the race. Um, Whenever it started, can you tell me a little bit about like what that experience was like for you, starting the race, going out, what that was like?
Yeah, I kind of, after East Texas Ultra, I followed Brantley on Strava, and we've been friends since. And, um, you know, I, I, I was looking at his training all, all summer long, and leading up to the race. And, man, he put in some really big miles, and he did it smart, and he had a really good build up. So I knew kind of where Brantley was, and I had studied the course pretty well, and I knew where the technical spots were and where the faster spots were. And I kind of know what kind of runner Brantley is just based off his training and Strava, and I know where I'm at. I know where his strengths kind of are, and it kind of the first loop, the first 31 miles went out just like I kind of saw, and that was I thought Brantley and I would hang together the first 15 miles or so during the technical sections, and then I had a feeling that naturally I would kind of pull away in the faster sections and gain some time on those sections. And that's exactly what happened. I felt like I was pacing perfect that first loop, and Brantley kind of executed exactly kind of how I thought, just steady Eddie. I know he had some trips and falls there that costed him some time, but he was pretty steady Eddie all the way through the race, and that's exactly how his long training runs have gone. And um, that first loop went kind of as planned. I finished that first loop, and I took an extra 10 minutes at that aid station because I felt my stomach coming up a little bit, and I wanted to make sure I take some time right then and there to try to absorb and calm down a little bit. And then I started the second loop uh, through the first 9 miles in that technical section. I knew it was going to be slower, but I didn't mind it being a little slower because I wanted to make sure I kind of fixed my stomach before, the faster sections came up.
Yeah, I want to
And
add that
that's exactly that's
I want to add that when you came in that 50K loop, you were looking pretty rough halfway through the race. You looked pretty rough coming in.
yeah. So I knew my stomach was starting to become a problem. So yeah, that my goal the first 9 miles, which was through the technical section, on the second loop, the first 9 miles on the second loop, so 31 to 40 is all technical. I knew that I would need to take it slow and try to get under control again, and eat a little bit. I took in some pretzels. I think I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and um, uh, some liquid scratch hydration, and I took all that in. And there was a aid station mile 9, I believe, right before the fast section came up, and uh, sure enough, Brantley showed up right there, mile 40. And I look at him, I'm like, good job, man, way to go. And inside my head, I'm thinking, oh shit, it's getting real now.
Oh yeah.
And but I had this I had some confidence at that moment because my stomach was on control at that moment. And we had about, let's see, mile 40 to 47 was all fast section. So I knew I had a good section here to gain some more time back. And yeah, I hit that section pretty good. I think I averaged around 8:15 or 8:30 miles for that 7 miles, no stomach issues. And I get to mile 47 aid station, and I didn't take too much time there because I knew Brantley was coming, but I knew I had some time gained up from those previous 7 miles. I think I took a couple minutes, grabbed a couple gels, filled my bottle, and the next 9 miles was all so from 47 to 55, 56 was all going to be some pretty technical trail, lots of climbing. So I noticed that on the technical parts, I was having the most difficulty keeping my stomach under control because just the jostling around, um, and I think that's what did it. If I was on a smooth section, I wasn't jostling. I was not jostling around so much, and I I was in control. But a little bit of puke and rally from 47 to 55. Um, Let me back up a little bit. At mile 53, I ran into Nick Peterson, and which is a pleasant surprise. I had texted him, messaged him just a couple days prior, telling him because he lives in Georgetown, and he's a friend of mine that we've ran together a few times. I thought maybe he'd be interested in coming out and running or pacing me part of the second loop. I didn't see him after the first loop, so I thought maybe he just wasn't able to make it. So I completely forgot Nick was uh, might be on the trail somewhere, and it was a pleasant surprise at that time. Of course, I was not in really good shape when I saw him, and he's talking to me, trying to gauge where I'm at, and I'm telling him, it's not looking good, Nick. I'm in a rough spot right now, but he's kind of trying to keep my spirits up, and he's like, all right, you just, trying to break it down. He's like, let's just get to this tree here. We'll hike to this tree, and then let's go for a run here. He's like, he's like, he noticed I was every time I would take a sip of water, a little bit later I would pretty much throw it up, and he's like, Ryan, what we got like what 6 miles left. How about you just don't try not to take any more liquids. Just try to empty the tank a little bit, and because you're almost there. And so I kind of stopped just worrying about my stomach, and I forgot about fueling and hydrating for a little bit, and I was just like, run when you can, walk when you feel the stomach a little bit, run when you can. And so I did that for a couple miles with Nick, and then we get to uh, I think it's the Lone Star aid station, mile 55, 56,
That's Tejas.
and or Tejas aid station, mile 55, 56 there. And I took some applesauce that looked good, and that settled pretty well. So I need
That's the
to look into
secret,
that
man.
applesauce a little bit more. That was pretty good. And then Nick was like, what do you need? And I was like, man, give me some orange soda. That sounds really good. I was like, but put some ice cubes in it, please. And he had trouble putting some ice cubes. That was taking a little time. So I started walking down the trail. He comes up behind me and gives me a little orange soda. And uh, man, I smelled the finish line. And there, mile 55 to 61 was all Jeep road, kind of flat, cruisy. Uh, and I was able to kind of open up into my stride again and hit this flow. And it's the same kind of just flow experience that I've had every other 100K, where it's like almost out of body. And I put in a little tunes for the first time of the day. So I had a little bit of music going, and I love my music. And so I just hit this stride for about, I want to say, 4.5 miles. I was looking down on my watch. Sometimes it was saying 650, 640 pace. But I think 4.5 miles, I averaged about 7 minutes, 7:10 pace, and gained a lot of that time back up at the end of the race. And then the last mile of the loop, mile 62, is all uphill technical. And I was like, I said to Nick, I'm just going to hike this. I don't want to push this technical hill and throw up in the finish line. So I hiked the last hill and made it into the finish. What was it? 10 hours, 50 minutes.
Yep.
So it was not my a goal to come in at 10 hours 50 minutes. Honestly, I had a much faster time set in my head. Before I experienced the trail, I had in my head 9 hours. I wanted a 9 hour 100K. I felt like I was in shape to do that on a really, really good day. But now that I've raced the trail, I don't, that 9 hours, um, it would be pretty hard for me on the day. I think maybe next year, but I think if I hadn't had any stomach issues, man, I think I could run that trail in 9.5 hours, under 10 hours. So uh, I didn't get the time I wanted, but of course I got the win and learned a ton. So I'm excited to go back next year and try it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you're kind of in a way, you know the course really well now. Like, you know exactly how it's set up because even people that locally live there, I have you going off the Goodwater Loop, going in some neighborhoods. And so, like, even people that live there don't know the full route unless you actually run the race, you know? Um, and so you kind of have an advantage already knowing what it is and what it looks like. Um, but with that being said, what was your what was your favorite and least favorite part of the race course itself?
Hmm. The least favorite part was um, miles 15 through 24 on the what's the south side of the lake, I think.
Uh,
Uh,
yep.
yeah, it's all technical. There's rocks, they're kind of boulderish, like corroded rocks, like kind of look like pelvises. I think Nick had said that. Yeah, so sometimes they, you think it's a stack of leaves, and then you hit it and it's a rock, and it's a pretty technical spot. So I'd say that's probably my least favorite. It's really hard to get into a flow on that spot, especially if you haven't been on that trail before. Um, my favorite part was uh, at the end of the loop, miles 24 to 31, the Jeep Road. Man, that's my jam. Smooth Jeep Road, not too rocky, just small rock, dirt. I can get into a pretty good flow on that part of the trail.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say personally for me, my favorite part of the course was your least favorite part of the course, the most technical part. But the reason it's my favorite is because it's the most scenic part of the course. It's true single track. You have a lake view a lot of the times, and it's beautiful. It's my favorite part. Um, and another one of my favorite parts of the course is when you get to climb up the dam. You get to climb up the rocks on the dam. I thought that was a really cool kind of part of the course. You get to climb up a huge rock dam all the way up to the top of it. So that was kind of my two.
And that was a pretty fun part of the course where you climb up the dam, because you climb up the dam, that rocky trail, and then it kind of goes off into some more uh Jeep road for a little bit. That was a pretty fun part.
With that being said, Ryan, how does it feel to be the course record holder, champion, prize prize winner of the first ever championship ultra in Texas? How does it feel?
It feels pretty cool, Briston. Honestly, I like the title champion, Texas champion, uh, or trail ultra trail champion. That's a pretty cool title. Uh, I'm excited, and I put a lot of work in. I train hard. I love the sport, and it's cool to have something that shows. That the hard work I put in. It really is cool.
Yeah, yeah, I bet, man. It really is something that you can. Ah, what the heck? Okay, we're good. It
All
just
right.
like closed out, but we're good.
Okay.
All right, anyways, but like I was saying, man, yeah, it is really cool that you can have something to show that like, yeah, all this hard work, like this is what it resulted in. This is what it put it in. I want to know, what do you did you have any plans for your cash pool to splurge on anything running related? Any new running shoes, anything like that?
Let's see. I don't have any shoes that I have in mind, but I do. I mean, I want to treat my family nice with that money. They support me a lot. They hear about all my running talk, and they have to put up. They're not runners themselves, but my daughter, she doesn't like to run. She barely likes to sweat. She's as girly as they come, but she's at every race, and she's waking up early sometimes, and she supports me hard, and my wife as well. So I took them out to dinner, and treated them nice, and got a few presents for them. So it's really it's all for them. It's just that's another thing that's pretty cool to win this, and show my family. I did this, I earned that. After, because they see what I do every day and how much it means to me, and it's good to give something back to them too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really neat, man. Just getting to, I don't know, have something for all those years because you've been running for like 3, 4 years, and they kind of have a day to where you do find success, and then you got a little extra cash to where you can celebrate that in the moment and just have a good time, you know? And so that's really sweet, man. It's cool that you got to do that. Do you have any advice for anybody that's maybe listening to this and they're gonna run it next year or anything in the years to come? Do you have any advice or anything that you really wish you would have known before you ran the race?
Um, Man, you get trained for it. You gotta there's so many pieces to the puzzle. There's so many things you gotta know your body. You gotta get out there and consistently spend time on your feet and know your energy levels. You have to know your body and what you're able to do for all day effort. Um, so I recommend to take it serious. That's a long day out there on your feet, and um, you take it serious and put in time on your feet and know how to fuel and um, uh, put the time in, and it'll pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice, man. It's good advice. I think that's very important for anybody that's going in and that's doing this type of race, you know. But yeah, man. So, I mean, as far as what you're hopping back into, future goals, things like that, um, what do you have in mind for the future, man? Like, what are some goals you have? Like, I want to hear, not only what are you doing next year, but like, what's your long-term goal with this running thing? You know what I mean?
I was just talking to my dad about this yesterday. I got crazy goals in my head. I've got some short-term goals and I've got some long-term goals. Man, this running stuff, it's changed my life completely, and it's given me a sense of drive and motivation, and it's it's helped every other area of my life as well. So I see myself forever a runner, forever, and 55 years old, 60 years old, road, trail. And I don't care what terrain it's on. I love to run, and man, I want to do some big things. Right now, I don't have. I got to work full time, and I've got a family, and uh, I can't do all the races and take all the time I want out right now. But later on in my life, 10 years down the road, I see myself running across the state of Texas, doing something for a charity, doing a multi-day event somewhere, pacing somebody at a big championship race, or pacing somebody disabled at a big city marathon. I want to. There's those things that I want to accomplish. But right now, I got to take a break from racing, the short term period, at least. Um, you know, I'm very obsessive sometimes, and so when I pick out a big race and um, uh, set a big goal like that, I put a huge amount of time into training and research, and it feels like the last 3 years, it's just been nothing but training block after training block or race. And I mean, these are things that I want to do, but at the same time, there's some sacrifices that come from that, having a family. So I want to, the next 3, 4 months, spend some time taking care of other things besides racing and training. Of course, I'll run every day, and but I don't have a race planned right now. Right. I want to continue to get faster in the shorter distances, half marathon, 5K, mile time, that kind of stuff. It excites me in the short term. So no racing, but definitely some PR chasing in those shorter distances. Um, and Ironman, triathlon also excites me, especially during the summer. So completing an Ironman, full distance Ironman triathlon is probably a big goal that will be accomplished in the next couple years of mine. I want to come back to this championship next year, the big Texas Ultra Championship. I want to lay down a really fast time. I know it's going to be competitive, and I'll look forward to that at the end of next year. But right now, it's family time and focus on Christmas and starting off the new year in a good direction.
Yeah, man, that's a good way to do it, man. I like that. I like that. You know what's funny? There's two things I want to talk about there. One, I just recorded a podcast before this, where we're talking about running for a cause or running for to raise money for something, and we just talked about that, and you kind of brought it up there. But that episode is going to release on Monday. This episode's releasing on Saturday, and so you get to hear, because I know you do listen to some of those. You'll get to hear on our Shooting the Bull us talking about running for a bigger cause, like a charity or stuff like that. So it's cool that you talked about that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really good to um, take a break and understand that you have time, Lord willing, at least, like you have time to do big and fast things or compete or get at a certain level that you want to get to. Because, for example, right now, like I've been struggling with these little nagging injuries like for like 2 years, man. Like I just finished running college track in May, and um, right now, like I'm okay. Like I understand that I have so many years ahead of me, Lord willing. Like I know I have so many more years ahead of me that even through this little injury season, I'm not stressing about it, man. Like I'm taking my time. Eventually, okay, I'll overcome, I'll heal, I'll figure stuff out, I'll get better, I'll get faster, I'll do these big races. But right now, I'm being patient. And I think that's good, man, to understand and have that perspective of like, yeah, I'm gonna not focus on anything and just focus on my personal life. I think that's very beneficial. It's a good thing. So it's good to hear, Ryan. It's good to hear that
I
you're doing that.
I think it's really good also. I think it's really good also just for to overall mental and physical health and to have longevity in the sport. And balance is absolutely the key with all of that. Um, so I think if you see yourself running for the rest of your life, there's no need to burn yourself out at such a young age and overdo things. And yeah, to realize you've got time, you, that that'll do you some good.
Yeah, I like the advice that the race director for Blaze Trails gave me, um, Chris Barnwell. Me and him were kind of talking, and I was just talking about him race directing and doing these 100-mile races at the same time, which is kind of crazy to think about. And he just basically told me, man, he was like, being so young, 20s, 30s, even your 40s and 50s, you still got years to where you can do some great things. He talked about how like a lot of the really great ultra runners are 40, 50 years old. How there's a lot of really older guys that are really great at the sport. And it's not necessarily all these younger guys. It's actually there seems to be some negative effects starting so young. It actually looks like while your body's still developing and growing, you know. And so he basically just encouraged me that like,
Absolutely.
dude, you got time if you, and that's not just for me. That's for anybody listening. Like if you're, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, even maybe even 50, like if you want to be good in the sport as far as competitive, you can still do it and you got time. Um, I guess you don't really start to see a decline until after 60 from what it sounds like as far as your performance. But um, yeah, man. Yeah, it's a it's a good thing to have that perspective. It makes shortcomings easier to overcome. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. But yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the talk show, sharing your race experience. People, I think, are going to enjoy this years to come to listen back to this. As long as we keep doing that race, which we plan on, I want it to go. I want it to go on forever. So, I think a lot of people will really learn, take away a lot from this. So, um, yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you wanted to maybe talk about or say?
No, man. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, Briston. What you're doing with Texas Outlaw running, I think it's a lot of cool ideas and definitely exciting races to have here in Texas. I'm excited to check more races out. Um, Excited for the championship. I really think the championship deal, big Texas Ultra is going to grow. Um, uh, I already know friends signing up for some of the qualifying races or planning to. So excited to see what happens next year. And yeah, man, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you just real quick. I know like you're not focused on anything right now, but like, do you have any ideas of where you think you want to qualify or where you're planning on qualifying for the next year's race?
Uh, no, I don't know which race I'm going to go after. I would like to, I mean, East Texas Ultra, just in terms of location and time, is pretty convenient. But I would like to try the North Texas Ultra. That seemed like a fun race. But I don't know. I'm gonna check it out and definitely plan something in the next few months, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope to see it that it's more competitive for the top spots. This year, with it being new, you know, people would come in, they would finish and just happen to qualify. But
Yeah,
now that it's out there more, it's going to be competitive. So it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun. So glad we could spice up the typical trail race here in Texas and add a little competition to it. So
it really
um,
is exciting.
oh yeah, and hopefully we can get bigger cash pools too. I don't know, man. I was talking to Nikki. He told me that some races, man, they're only giving away like, and they're huge, but they're only giving away like $300 tops for these people that have 500,000 people races. Because I told him like I thought about increasing it, and he told me that, and I was like, really? I was like, some people are got to be really protective and want the cash from the races, man. Because there's definitely a profit margin, especially if you have 300 people in a race. You have plenty of profit margin to give away thousands. You know what I mean?
That's pretty wild to hear about some of the cash prizes at some of these bigger races. It really is. Uh, you there was $1,000. I don't know if the listeners know this, but there was $1,000 cash prize the at the Texas Ultra Championship, aka Big Texas Ultra,
Yep.
along with a gift card and free pair of shoes. So quite um, the win there. And I just think my local 5K, they have $100 cash prize at the local 5K. and you should see the type of competition that $100 cash prize will bring to our local 5K. So just people need to get word. People need to hear, and I think 1 year is all it needs. I think it's gonna triple by next year. So it's exciting to see here in Texas.
Yep. Hey, if the race triples, their cash prize will triple too. So it'll grow as big as the race, but we'll see. Right now, it's still set at 1,000, but we'll see how much interest we get. So, but yeah, man, cool. Well, thanks for hopping on, man. Thanks for your time, and enjoy this rest season with your family and all that. And for people listening, I have Ryan's Instagram and Strava in the description. I'm also gonna try to make sure I remember to link his video, his YouTube video, The Hill, Ryan Hill, The Path to the Texas Ultra Championship. Y'all can go watch that. But with that being said, thank y'all for listening. Thank you, Ryan, and we'll see y'all hopefully on another episode.